Okay, hello everybody, and good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining this session today. So we're going to start without wasting any further time. So we're discussing about the African Library Internet Governance Ambassadors Program, which we commenced recently, and the focus of this is to enable us to empower librarians in African countries to be able to navigate the IGF ecosystem. However, as we progress today, I have three speakers joining me online. In the person of Shegun, will be walking us through a few pointers that we do at Library in Africa. And from there, okay, okay.
No, no, like this.
All right, great. So we'll walk you through a couple of things today, which we're going to discuss about what we do as an organization. And from there, we're going to dive into the insight about today's session. And from there, we're going to speak about what comes to mind when you hear about the word library. And from there, we're going to dive into the program proper and also question and answer session. From there, we're also going to give you a guide of today's consultation and, of course, dive into the consultation proper. And we dive into questions, remarks, and we end the session. So it's going to be interactive with our online participants and those that are present with us here today. So without further ado, I'm going to dive in further to invite my colleague, Shegun, to go ahead with the presentation. Shegun, over to you. The video. So the video will be played very soon. Just a few seconds to play the video. Thank you. Shagun, the video is playing already. Please, you're interrupting that. Sorry. Yeah, apologies for that, but we have to progress to the next part of the agenda. So you can go ahead with your presentation, Shagun. Yeah, thank you so much, Shagun, for that presentation. Diving in further into what we'll be doing today, in today's conversation, is for us to understand that we can work with libraries much more better to understand the legislative process and the IGF governance ecosystem as a whole. Uh, we're going to inquire about what libraries can do to be part of the IGF ecosystem, how libraries are essential partners to address digital public goods, and how libraries are key partners towards achieving digital features in African countries. And of course, also going to dive into to ideas about what can libraries do better, what can we do, how can we improve on things, what do we who should we collaborate with, and how can we upscale our work in the library ecosystem as we progress. But however, I have a question for you. What comes to mind when you hear the word libraries? Anybody can go. What comes to mind when you hear the word libraries? A lot of books. Yeah, okay, you're correct. You? Books? Okay. Okay. All right, I mean, we have different responses as regards to what comes to mind when you hear the word libraries. And I can see, let me check the chat box to see if there are responses in the chat box from my online participants. What comes to mind when you hear the word library? All right, you're all correct. But however, libraries over time are transforming from the quiet, boring space of books alone to a more innovative environment, right? And that's why empowering librarians' digital skills is important to upskill themselves to be able to make libraries much more vibrant, innovative ecosystem. Okay, and diving in further into this conversation, we'll be. Need to go back there. I'll be presenting to you proper what the program is all about. African Library Internet Governance Ambassadors Program, and what do we aim to achieve with this? So, what are we doing as a program on this particular intervention? We're working towards empowering library leaders in Africa to integrate libraries into the discourse and actions of the IGF. The national levels ensuring that active library participation across board is guaranteed, and also to ensure that we're able to shape internet governance policies and advance digital inclusion strategies for libraries in African countries. And why are we doing this? We are doing this to specifically address the capacity gap among librarians, to engage meaningfully in the internet governance ecosystem, and also to contribute towards shaping policies around digital inclusion for libraries. So, what approach are we deploying to achieve this particular intervention that we're working on currently? Number one, we'll be working on an annual ambassadors program where we get to engage and train librarians to build practical skills and knowledge about the internet governance ecosystem and collaborate with existing IGF and ICANN ambassadors in various countries. And the second approach here that we'll be deploying is to explore collaborative engagement in the context of to initiate and build collaboration between libraries and IGF ecosystem in African countries at the national and regional levels across board. And also is around community building. To build a vibrant community of librarians and internet governance ecosystem partners to leverage expertise and networks, create activities and programs that will drive value for impact of library engagement at the IGF level in Africa. And what do we aim to achieve with this? We're looking at building a very vibrant team of librarians across African countries, fostering collaboration between libraries and the IGF ecosystem partners, leading an increased representation of libraries in the IGF discussions. The second point that we're trying to achieve is to enhance ability to advocate and lead engagement activities with libraries, resulting to more involvement of libraries at the country level of the IGFs, and to increase awareness and of libraries' importance in the IGF ecosystem and digital inclusion efforts through evidence-based activities in collaboration with the IGF partners in various countries in Africa. So that's an overview of the program. I don't know if you have questions that you'd love to ask online and offline that you need further clarity on this particular part of the presentation. Questions, comments? Okay, please pass him the mic.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. Interesting topic. I have not thought much about this. I'm working with capacity building for regulators in Sub-Sahara Africa. So I assume the library you are talking about is that kind of a hub for information or something in a virtual or physical space, where I assume connectivity is a presumption, some kind of processing going on and some structure. So So can you say anything on what is the realities on the hubs that you have described in your project? Where are the libraries today, and what would you like them to be? If you can say something of that.
Sure, thank you so much for your question. And I would say that libraries are transforming from the boring, quiet space to a more innovative environment, right? And access to internet plays a very huge role in that particular ecosystem for libraries to transform to digital hubs that want them to be. For instance, if a library in a community has internet connectivity, the community gets to benefit from the digital goods and capacity that the library has to provide digital access to them. So libraries are not just access to book selling, but libraries are transforming into access points, opportunities, digital tech hubs, and environments where people thrive to create ideas and innovation. The reason why this particular program is important for us to see that how are libraries able to scale from what we know them to be to what we really are currently. Libraries has moved from the book space alone to a more innovative environment that thrives and supports innovation. Great. Any further question? So online participants, please feel free to drop your question in the chat box as you progress. All right, great. So it appears there are no further questions, and I'm going to dive in further to our conversation for today, which we'll be discussing about. Okay, so for the next 20 minutes, we're going to have a couple of exercises to do, both online and offline, and we'll be conversing together to respond to some very key questions around, based on the program we presented to you earlier just now, what can we do to make this a more consistent approach to do? And we have three theme questions that we've have for you to respond to, but the questions will be interactive. So you get to converse together, share ideas on others can be better, and document your thoughts and share with us. All right. So we have three questions here. The three questions here has been designed to help us to work together much more better with the IGF ecosystem and co-create ideas. The three questions are across three major categories. Category number one is around digital inclusion and libraries. And the question here is that how can libraries be better positioned to serve as digital inclusion hubs within their communities? And what strategies can ensure equitable access to digital resources? And the second part of the question goes to around integration into the IGF, right? And the question here is that what innovative approaches can libraries adopt to effectively engage with internet governance forum and influence digital policy making at local, national, and regional levels? And the last part of the question goes around sustainability and partnerships, right? In the context of what collaborative models or partnership can libraries leverage to secure resources and support sustainable digital transformation? So these are the questions we have. However, since it's a small crowd in person, so I think we can interact with these questions and share our ideas. So we have 20 minutes to discuss these things. So on the first question, all right, for those in the room and those online also, right? How can libraries be better positioned to serve as digital inclusion hubs within their communities? And what strategies can ensure equitable access to digital resources and tools? It could be ideas from your work experience on how what you've seen in other ecosystems and how libraries can potentially align towards those priorities. Please feel free to speak.
Okay, thank you. Availability. I mean, to be able to have access. I assume that's one factor. There are probably others as well.
Availability and assets.
Yeah, availability to be able to have access to these hubs, even though if they are virtual or if they are physical. So I assume there's a low threshold to enter. So I assume to be aware of and also have the resources to really have a low barrier to access. I would say that was one contribution.
Great, insightful. You want to go ahead?
Especially nothing from my side. It's okay. He's told it's a good point, and I have nothing to do. So.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you so much, Damilari. I think how the libraries can be better positioned to serve as digital inclusion, especially if I look at our communities that are underserved. First of all, the libraries need to stock the tools and also upskill themselves to be well conversate with management of these tools, and then work with the communities, reach out to the communities, and not only to wait for the people to come to them, but also go to the communities, invite, encourage all categories of people to come and access these tools, and maybe also train them, skill them, and be able to meet their needs. Because if they are not able to meet their needs, then they're going to work in isolation, and the communities will not see these libraries as something important or a space that will be important for them to visit and access. And maybe the strategies is that they need to work with other partners within the ecosystem and the infosphere so that they are able to know what exactly is offered by others so that they come in to assist.
Interestingly, you mentioned availability and access, and you emphasized more on community engagement and integration, right? Brilliant.
Well, yeah, I think I would also complement the idea of Sarah, but also of what he mentioned about the first step for me would be the infrastructure. So already know if the libraries can have access to the internet, what kind of access do they have, but also perhaps to operate in a more contextualized way to make sure that they understand the needs of their communities, because they can vary. Also, it can be quite different. But I also found very interesting what you mentioned about the library tracker, so that libraries can connect to each other. I found that a great solution also. So perhaps some libraries who have less resources or less access know that there's other libraries around in the region that they can also rely on, and perhaps even complement the resources they have, or some questions on challenges.
Interestingly, I mean, our pointers are interconnected: availability and access, community engagement, and infrastructure. Because all these are essential components to bring together to make libraries thrive digitally. All right. Diving into the next point of the conversation here, which is about integration into the internet governance. And the question here specifically aligns towards what innovative approaches can libraries adopt to effectively engage with Internet Governance Forum and influence digital policy at local, national, and regional levels? This is a more technical question. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. The question is not obvious for me, probably because I don't know enough of the IGF's
Yeah.
different forums, but I assume it has to be the possibility to advance the usage, but in the same time you have to have, as was underscored previously, the competence, capacity, ability to be able to integrate, and assuming then that you have access and connectivity and that is stable, and also that the places are secure. I mean, you showed Abuja. I mean, Nigeria is maybe a case point, so that these are secure spaces where you can really get into this. And I assume there could then be ambassadors for usage to advance. How do you step onto the digital transformation, basically, where the internet is a tool for doing anything? I mean, education, training, upskilling, other things. So that means that the internet becomes an integrated part of the library as an information hub. Maybe that is a way for integrating. But as I said, I don't know enough for internet the forums, but I've seen competence, upskilling, and also making the point of advancing the usage could be maybe one avenue, but there are probably others.
Great. Thank you so much for that comment. Yeah, interesting point you mentioned about competence upskilling, and that's why this program we have is important for us to be able to empower librarians in African countries to understand how to engage internet governance ecosystem. And a few pointers we're trying to work on here is to make sure that we are able to train librarians on what internet governance is all about and engage them with local IGFs in the various communities and engage in conversations and to prioritize library connectivity in their societies. And through those kind of dialogues and conversations, we'll see a more collaborative effort to drive capacity, competence, like you've mentioned, and also lead to these libraries being more information hubs that are much more vibrant, leveraging technology. Thank you so much for that. Madam Sarah, do you have any comments to add on that?
Thank you so much. I think to begin with, libraries need to know that they are not almost mentioned in the IGF. So to begin with, they should start by participating in IGF and see what goes on in IGF so that they can relate with their work and then be able to innovatively practice and deliver services that speak to what IGF is talking about, and also be able to participate in policy making activities at national and regional levels.
Thank you so much for that comment. Before I go to you, Maria, we have a hand up online. Gabriel Kassan, please over to you. Speak. Gabriel, are you able to unmute yourself to speak? Excuse me? Someone's gonna wants to speak online. Gabriel wants to speak online. Sure, go ahead. Yeah, thank you so much for those insightful comments there, Akasan. And as you've mentioned that the internet itself is a combination of a lot of libraries on the internet, and librarians, of course, I would say, uh, played a very vital role in creating the internet itself because we have the records, information from ages that were all uploaded online. And I hope that through this conversation we're having now, we're able to see bringing more librarians on board to contribute meaningfully and actively to internet governance ecosystem. Opo Maria, do you have pointers you want to add up on this particular question?
Yeah, just a quick point. Well, I think everyone already mentioned more or less everything, but perhaps another thing that I would add that I think it's also important is something that I think it is also important that maybe policymakers understand how libraries ecosystem operates at a national level, because it's quite unique, very contextual. It also depends on the country, can be very different. So I think it's something that I also observed that can be interesting is that libraries use their own case studies at a national level and perhaps bring them into these spaces to talk about these success stories with other policymakers, and also so that they can have a better understanding on how the library ecosystem is perhaps built in a certain country and how can they collaborate with them for further projects.
interesting point as that you mentioned about storytelling and communicating impact, and that shows for the need for us to upskill librarians on how to document the impact, communicate advocacy, and engage with key stakeholders in their various society. Interestingly, and diving to the last point that we have here is around sustainability and partnerships, right? And this plays a very huge role because libraries can't do it alone. We need to work with other partners, collaborate with other ecosystem partners to see how can we cross-pollinate ideas and innovation, right? And what collaborative models or partnership can libraries leverage to secure resources and support sustainable digital transformation initiatives in the societies? You wanna go? Please go ahead.
Thank you. It's a very good initiative. I'm seeing the full session. So I'm just find out some points for this particular section only because I'm working types of that. We are working on digital literacy. So library, you can collaborate schools and college levels. So there can students can be learn many things from the library. Next part is the public-private company. Uh, then they will be support this program, and in technologies company also more than I. Major things is local startup companies. They can be develop this initiative and grow up. Uh, that's all. That's all from my side.
Sure. Thank you so much for that. From your pointers, you spoke about a lot about public-private partnerships and how libraries can engage key partners in the private sector, technology company partners,
Some
NGOs, and
NGOs.
other partners to see how we can cross-pollinate innovation, not just within it alone, but engaging these partners to scale impact and spread the word out there of what our roles are. Thank you so much. Um, Going forward on that, any comments you want to add to that question? What collaborative models or partnership can libraries leverage to secure resources and support for sustainable digital transformation initiatives? For those online, if you're willing to speak, kindly raise your hands or you can drop your responses in the chat box and I'm able to read on your behalf over here. Sure, go ahead.
I think maybe it could be on the education sector or if training. So it's a combination both on the school side and the other will be on the professional side. I mean, work-related upskilling to use the libraries as a hub or central for competence center, if that could be possible. So both going school side and then the other professional companies, public institutions, other that would like to see the advancement, and particularly you're talking about digital transformation, a number of skills will be, soft skills of various kinds will be essential. So that's two possibilities.
Interesting. Thank you so much for that. Madam Sarah?
Thank you so much. Personally, I think there is a lot to offer, but we can't offer it as people from the library sector. So we need to work in a model which is multi-stakeholder, take on a multi-stakeholder approach so that we can contribute. I know we can contribute to so many of them. Health, we can come in to contribute, education, agriculture. We don't have to work alone anymore, but we have to work as a multi-stakeholder group to be able to attract funding, to be able to win resources, and then be able to take on the sustainability part of it and also the digital transformation that we want to see.
Great. You have your points, Maria? Sure.
Yeah, just a final point. I think I would also, well, adding up to what Sarah said, I would also say perhaps also a model could be for libraries to dare to venture a bit beyond the library and information, not necessarily field, but ecosystem. Also because libraries in the latest years, they also engage in a lot of different themes. They engage a lot in democracy-related themes, peace building, support of digital skills, like you said. So I also perhaps think it is also interesting to explore these intersections that libraries have and see if there is an opportunity to engage with the stakeholders that libraries are sometimes not used to engaging with in these spaces. Thank you.
An emphasis on intersection of our work in the library space in terms of our work related with health, education, uh, um, no poverty, zero hunger, connecting those dots to engage and speak the language that these partners understand. Great. Thank you so much for your insightful responses. My colleagues are documenting these thoughts you shared with us, and that will further inform our decision going forward on how we shape things forward on this particular intervention. And going forward on today's charts, we'd love to hear from general remarks from you in terms of idea, thoughts you have in your mind you want to share that we have not mentioned in this conversation today, that you think will be worth exploring for libraries as we progress to be much more digital savvy and further build strong capacity of librarians and upskill librarians to be able to engage in digital economy opportunities. And not just that, how libraries can be best positioned as a hub for digital empowerment. So if there are comments or general remarks you have that we have not captured, that you think will be essential for us to capture as we progress in this conversation, and afterwards for implementation, please go ahead and speak about those. Sure.
I just thinking of how do you reach the youth or the people, your customers, or you say your clients, the public. I assume that's an issue that is could be challenging depending upon context, social setting, and competence. I mean capacity. So I assume access will be how do you reach out basically, and also in the media landscape changing with different formats, shorter communication from youth, etc. So the ability to reach various information channels. I assume, to reach and get a positive development for this. But otherwise, very interesting to hear this, because this was not something that I've been thinking so much about, but makes a lot of sense. Very good job you're doing.
Thank you so much for your comments. We'll take that into consideration as we progress. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Damilari. I found your presentation quite interesting and enriching. I can say that uh, from a librarian perspective, I think we are not going to fight the digital tools. We are not going to fight AI, but rather we work to ensure that we encourage everyone to use these tools responsibly, to use these tools maybe in governance, information access. We can also navigate this space in an ethical way, so that we can benefit from the benefits that they come along with. Otherwise, if you want to fight the digital tools, we are likely to lose the war. We cannot afford anymore to do that. And also we start from our youth, the kids at home. We should encourage them to use the digital tools other than telling them how bad they are, but just caution them that use them responsibly, meaningfully, engage in this space because you want ABCD, and don't engage in this space because of ABC, so that they are able to benefit. Otherwise, we are going to be left behind, and yet we are already saying no one should be left behind. And also to the elderly, we should also tell them how beautiful digital inclusion is in their activities and the communities as well. Because if they are farmers, they also need to get the best prices of their crops, produce. But if they are not digitally literate, they are not able to find the best prices for their commodities. And also to the learners, we need to inform them that they can pass well their courseworks, their exams, if they engaged so well in the digital space and do a lot of preparations, seminars, group work, and the like. And then, of course, the traders, they will do the same. I thank you.
I love how practical you are with your interventions, and these are the comments we'll be taking notes now, and these are things we're going to say. How do we integrate this going forward and improve on them as we dive into towards implementing this particular intervention? Yes, Maria.
Well, no, not final comments really, just to congratulate you on everything you're doing. I think it's really great because you're doing not just capacity building, but also you're keeping the field stronger by keeping the libraries interconnected. And yeah, that's also what makes the field stronger on the long term. So congratulations on everything.
Great, thank you so much for the feedbacks, for the interaction, and for the conversation. I believe we've been able to dive into a couple of things today, which has informed our decision, which will inform our decision going forward, I must say, on some clear pointers of what we want to do. Gabriel Kassan, do you have any comments you want to add as we round up this session this afternoon? Gabriel, any comments you want to add? Sure, you heard it, but we can hear you. Great. Thank you so much for your comments. Please scan the QR code for the attendance sheets. We're going to connect with you to share the reports of this conversation and to share the progress we make as an organization. We appreciate your time and the conversation we've had today. And kindly check out our website to learn more about what we do as an organization. And we're happy to connect with you further to see how we can collaborate, how we can cross-pollinate ideas, how we can engage more with other stakeholders to make libraries a more vibrant ecosystem that caters for all aspects of our lives. On that note, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your commitment and the conversation, and we engage with you further as the conference goes by. Do enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you so much, and bye for now.